Hey everyone, Ryan here. In this video, I'll be documenting my process of discovery and experimentation with the PRUSA SL1 masked stereolithography resin printer to help you have a better informed decision if you're thinking about getting one or just want to find out more about it. I've broken up this video into parts: the unboxing and assembly of the kit, its features, the printing process, and my final thoughts along with a montage of all my prints so far. I'll include all the timestamps in the description below, so feel free to skip around. Enjoy! First, we'll take a brief look at what you get out of the box. It's a little battered from shipping, but everything was packed in dense foam really well and nothing was even remotely damaged. Even the resin was packed with protection. With that out of the way, let's get building. To give you some background, I'm building this exactly 2 years since I built my PRUSA Mark II kit. It's the only printer I've owned so far, and I've learned everything I know from building and maintaining that printer. Clearing clogs, reprinting parts, things like that. But I have no experience with any sort of resin or SLA printing prior to the SL1. All the parts are packed in assembly stages according to the manual, which I really appreciate. Even the screws and nuts are packed in assembly stages instead of type, which I'm sure saves me a lot of time. They even included a bag of spares, which I managed to not need. Speaking of the manual, the printed book is more than adequate to assemble everything. Pictures and directions are clear and concise. They do recommend using the online manual, but I only had to use it once. More on that later. The first problem I ran into was this particular wire. Both ends are different and one had a yellow clip on it to differentiate them in the manual. However, my clip was just sliding up and down the wire, and I had to compare the wire color orders on each end to make sure I had the right end. This could only be my kit, but do look out for it if you're building it yourself. As with PRUSA tradition, the kit shipped with a bag of Haribo gummy bears integral to the build. I had to break my no eating in the workshop rule, but who knows what could have happened if I didn't appease the gods of 3D printing. The whole kit was very well designed and pretty simple to put together. A good example of this is this screw in an awkward position. They punched a whole new hole on the other side of the sheet just so you could access it easily with the Allen key. Fantastic. My second hiccup was when it came time to install the electronics. The wires were a little bit of a rat's nest and I needed to use a HD photo of the board on the online manual to place all the connections in the right place, as I mentioned earlier. Then came my first real mistake. Despite the manual specifically saying to be careful while screwing in the FEP foil, I wasn't paying enough attention and my Allen key slipped and scratched the film anyway. Luckily for me, it didn't punch through and the dent was outside of the build area, so it didn't end up causing any problems down the line. I will take care next time when installing the 2 other spare FEP foils that came with the printer. The whole process was pretty smooth and I'd argue as easy or even easier than my Mark II kit 2 years ago. All the important precision parts were pre-assembled even in the kit so that I couldn't mess it up. And the whole thing is akin to a Lego kit. Dare I say, as fun as well. It took me about 5 hours from start to finish, much shorter than the about 2 days it took me to assemble the Mark IIs properly. And with the packaging empty and everything built up, the only thing left to do is to peel off the screen film and turn it on. On boot up, it takes you on a guided auto calibration. No need to have a guide video or manual open. All the instructions are right there on the touchscreen with high definition pictures when you swipe to the right. The whole calibration process takes no more than 15 minutes and is super simple. The SL1 has a build area of 120 by 68mm with a height of 150. Which is smaller than most FDM filament printers, but it's not so different once you consider 1 liter of resin is around 3 times as expensive as a roll of filament. The whole thing feels really rigid and sturdy, made of good quality materials, and when the feet are adjusted properly, there is zero wobble whatsoever, and with its hefty weight, it feels like it's bolted to the floor. After living with the LCD screen and knob on my Mark IIs for the past 2 years, the HD touchscreen was a huge step up. The user interface is intuitive, it's sharp and responsive, just like the screen of a smartphone. It even lets you set your time zone to give you an estimate on the print's end. Possibly one of my favorite features in the SL1 is its Wi-Fi connectivity. As simple as connecting to Wi-Fi on a smartphone, you can send .SL1 files, not G-code anymore, directly to the printer's internal memory, saving me running up and down the house with a USB drive. And let's not forget about the CW1 or the curing and washing station. This doesn't come as a kit, it's packed snugly with lots of foam and is ready to use right out of the box. As the name suggests, it helps you wash the prints in IPA and then cure them, really streamlining the post-processing process. The CW1 senses when the tank is in with an infrared sensor and has a magnetic stirrer to agitate the IPA to clean the prints. Once the tank is removed, it will automatically be in drying and curing mode, with the platform rotating slowly and UV lights all over the inside turned on. The CW1 also has an LCD and knob interface just like the Mark II and III, but compared to my Mark IIs, it feels much nicer to use with the improved knob and is much faster and more responsive. You can also increase or decrease the washing, drying or curing times on the fly with the knob, which I found to be really helpful. Now on to the print process. The handbook provided was a great starting point and taught me how to use the CW1 to wash and cure prints fast and efficiently. The test print was an army of 96 little Josephs. I secured the vat and build plate with their respective screws. I poured in some PRUSA Azure Blue resin and hit print. An hour or so later, I took it out, secured it onto the cover, and washed it in IPA in the CW1. 5 minutes later, I removed it with the included metal scraper. I dried and cured it. It's a little more work than an FDM filament print, but it's not as hard as some people make it out to be. Before every print, the SL1 also measures resin volume and will cancel the print if there's too little or too much resin, which I'm sure has saved me a huge mess. There is also a file in the examples folder you can print to test the optimal exposure time for new resins you try out. That's right, not only do they not lock you into buying their own resin like a certain someone, they make it quick and easy to start using third-party materials. The file prints 8 identical high-detail test prints and exposes each one to different curing times. Works like a charm. Similar to the PRUSA Mark II and III, PRUSA Slicer 2.0 is used to slice models. The SL1 is just another preset under the printer drop-down menu. The main difference I've found is with print orientations. A piece that would work perfectly on an FDM might need to be quite counterintuitively rotated at a 45-degree angle to reduce surface area on the film at any one time. And with floating and rotated prints come the new tree branch supports. After auto-generating them, I usually go through the layers, removing unneeded points and adding points where I feel aren't supported enough. Other than that, the process is pretty much the same. Acquire or design a model, import, play with settings, slice, and print. PRUSA Slicer is constantly being worked on and improved. In fact, the day I recorded this, they rolled out model hollowing and drainage hole adding, so I no longer need to use Mesh Mixer to do that. And here are my final thoughts on the PRUSA SL1 and CW1. In terms of odors caused by the resin, I won't lie, it's noticeable, especially with resins from other brands, but the SL1 does have a carbon filter which decreases the smell while the cover is closed, though I still ensure good ventilation and airflow to extract all fumes out of the workshop. Here's a montage of my prints I've gotten off the SL1 so far. I've included as many links to the models as I can. You can find them down in the description. All in all, I only had 3 failed prints. 1 because I scaled a super detailed Eiffel Tower too small with struts as small as a single pixel wide. 2 because I forgot to screw in the build plate and layer shifts occurred due to the sliding bed. And third, as I mentioned before, because I tried to print something that had too much contact with the film compared to the build plate, it ripped off the build plate and stuck to the film. All of them a result of the transition between filament and resin, and kind of my fault really, having nothing to do with the machine itself, so I can't complain. All in all, I think this is a fantastic printer for a beginner if you can afford it. Everything was designed really well, and it made my first foray into the world of resin printing an easy one compared to my PRUSA Mark IIs. Looking at you, Multi-Material Upgrade 1.0. The kit was easy to put together, and the important assemblies were pre-assembled to decrease the likelihood of problems down the road. The CW1 is also a great little way of streamlining the post-processing of prints and removes the need for messy homemade IPA cleaning tanks and curing stations, saving time and space in the workshop. And that's about it for this video. I'll definitely be using the SL1 in future videos to make cool stuff, so stick around and maybe drop a sub if you want to see that. If you found this video helpful or informative and want to say thanks, just leave a like. Do comment any questions you have regarding the SL1, the CW1, or my experience with it. Have a great day. See you soon.